All right. What's up, everybody? It's NFL Sunday. We made it. It's finally here. 7 hours of commercial-free football starts in 2 hours. Joined with me, as is going to be the case every single Sunday at this time, Josh Lander, a.k.a. Land Your Bets. Josh, how we doing?
We're good, man. It's football. What do you like? We're good. We are very good right now, for sure.
Very good. Yeah, definitely not. I'm definitely excited to not have to worry about baseball anymore. It's a fun summer. I love the Dong Report, but it gets to a point in time where I can't get my pants on for baseball anymore. You know what I mean?
I do, and I love the W. Been crushing it myself, but it ain't football, man. It ain't football.
It's not football. Yeah, with the second kickoff hits on Thursday, and you're like, oh, I remember why. Football is just king.
It's that first hit. Absolutely.
Yeah. Once you get the pads on. Yeah. So, all right. What we're going to do, for those of you who haven't tuned in to a live stream yet, or you weren't here last year, we're just going to go through every single game. I have the odds pulled up here on OddsJam, so we can go through and just make sure that anything we're betting, we have the most current odds. One thing that is new for this year is that we're going to go, every bet that we actually place is going to be tracked on the live stream bets. So if you go to the link that I posted in the right here in the chat, that just takes you a link to the spreadsheet. Everything we bet is going to be entered into that, just so we can kind of keep track of how things are going on the year, who's good, who's not good. Hopefully it continues to go well. Like Thursday night was awesome. Friday night, not so much. So hopefully, we keep it going. But yeah, we'll start with the Steelers versus Falcons game. The only other thing that I'll preface is that everything, unless otherwise mentioned, is going to be a one unit bet. So for me, that means like if it's minus money, risk to win a unit. If it's plus money, it's risk a unit. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I think, unless otherwise specified, it'll be a unit on all these straight plays, and except for like touchdowns, right? Like, so to that point, like anything that's heavy plus units will probably detract like heavy plus odds would be less than a unit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say for me, if I'm betting something at plus 120 and I say it's a 1 unit play, I'll risk 1 unit. So technically, yeah. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. I'll be specific too. No worries.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, Josh, appreciate you for joining me, as is going to be the case every single Sunday. Let's get into it. So Steelers versus Falcons. This is the only game of the day that I just straight passed. I don't know what to expect from this one. Russell Wilson's not going to play. It's Justin Fields. It's Kirk Cousins coming off of a torn ACL with a completely new coaching staff. It's Mike Tomlin seeing if he can keep up his just like witchcraft streak of never having a losing record. I think that stops. I think that ends this year, especially if it's Justin Fields. But as we can see, like the price here, mostly at 4, Falcons -4. You can get some 3.5. You can get some plus 4.5 for the Steelers if you like it, with the low total 42.5, 42, 41.5. So yeah, I totally passed on this game. What do you like?
So I hit the Falcons -3.5 before Fields was officially ruled in. I don't think it matters, to be honest, if it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, but I do think that I knew it was going to go a little bit further towards the Falcons if Fields was officially ruled in. They both look terrible in all the season stuff.
Terrible. Awful. Just awful. Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. So I do, look, what I would be scared of is Kirk Cousins coming back, Achilles, Alex Highsmith, and TJ Watt, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what you're worried about, which I get, and that makes total sense. But I still, the Falcons O-line, okay, we need to see what it is. The weapons are going to be there enough. I still think it's going to be slightly to the, like, I would lean to the under, but I didn't play that because I just wanted to take the favorite, and hate playing the favorite with the under, obviously.
Yeah.
That was the straight play there. But the two props I did hit Bijan 25 plus receiving yards. And I also laddered that's a full unit play, -120 on DraftKings.
Okay. Sorry, it was Bijan what?
Bijan 25 plus receiving yards.
Okay.
Is -120 on DraftKings. I also laddered that on DK with a quarter unit on him to get 40 receiving yards, which would get you plus 225 on your money for that Bijan ladder right there. So just looking at Bijan right now, I mean, a couple quick things that I'll just, throw you that I put in the Discord as well from the notes, which is, and I have the wrong notes up. Bye. But for Bijan, it really comes down to one. I'll start with Zach Robinson being the offensive coordinator coming over from the Rams. He's going to run a ton of 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receiver sets. That's going to allow plenty of room for, I mean, anybody who plays Madden knows if you run that, you're talking about the running back making an out route and is going to have a little bit more room, right? He's got a linebacker on him because they've got the nickel package out there. So you're most likely looking at a linebacker guarding Bijan, which is just never going to be a good play. And that's the problem that Zach Robinson's going to put teams in all season for Bijan. He might as well even split him up out wide, which we saw him play in the slot a bunch as well under Arthur Smith. That's another huge thing. No more Arthur Smith to mess with. It was just so frustrating to figure out when Bijan was going to get the usage. Zach Robinson has come and said, we're going to use him early. We're going to use him often. He's going to be the focal point of the offense. So love all that. I love Dalvin Cook's numbers when he was playing with Kirk Cousins in his first 3 seasons, averaged more than 25 yards receiving in all 3 of those seasons, even got up to about 37 in his second season with Kirk Cousins behind the helm. So you've got some pretty good use case here for why, how Kirk Cousins uses a good pass catching running back. Lastly, I'll just say too, I mean, he went over in 10 of 16 games when he had at least 11 plus snaps. That's really the biggest thing for me is once you get into a position where I don't have to worry about the Arthur Smith conundrum. Is he going to play Bijan? Is he going to play Algier? Who's he going to throw to? I think we know what we're getting now. And with the pressure that Cousins is going to be seeing from those 2 outside edge rushers, I think that he's going to need to find Bijan a good amount. So I like him on the latter play as well.
Yeah, I like that. It looks like, so you got 25 plus at minus 120. Looks like you can get over 25.5 at minus 110. Okay. Basically the same thing. And then the 40 plus is very close at plus 215. At Fliff and 210 Caesars, 215 Bet Rivers. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good look, especially like coming off a torn ACL or torn Achilles. If if he just senses any semblance of pressure, he's just going to dump it off, and that's going to be Bijan, especially if Pitts is actually hurt.
Yeah,
which who knows?
That would suck.
Yeah, who knows if he is.
Well,
it
would be good for my bet. It would be bad for my fantasy team. But the other one I'll throw at you real quick is the same concept here, which is Jaylen Warren. And I had to take this because if you have MGM, it was 11.5 receiving yards for Jaylen Warren.
Still there.
Okay, good. Everywhere it was minus 110. Everywhere else you were starting to see like 13.5s and stuff like that. But I love 11.5. It's just a straight play of what we've seen from him. He went over this number in 15 of 18 games last season.
That's crazy.
So now that we've got Justin Fields starting, Justin Fields was in the top 10 in the percentage of his passes that went to running backs last year. And he certainly didn't have Jaylen Warren out there with him. Plus, we should see Jaylen Warren taking over entire downs in plays rather than just coming in as a third down guy. He started to get a lot more entire series of play, where he's the starting running back with the Steelers towards the end of last season. There's really nothing here to make me think that he's incapable of that. I will say the Falcons did rank very well, limiting running back receptions and yards last season, but that's the only thing that would have kept me away from it. Everything else is just like, look, this is 11.5 for a guy who averages more than 4 targets a game, 3.5 receptions per game. I got to take him to get 11.5 receiving yards in that situation.
I like that. And you can still get it there at the same price. You can take it on Fliff. That's what I was on my phone. I was taking it on Fliff because it's at minus 115, which is good enough. I mean, like, that's an awesome price. Just if you're strictly just looking for value, like 13.5 at 365 in DraftKings. And I guess whatever this BetR is, 14.5 at FanDuel and BetOnline. It's 15.5 at Fanatics. And I guess what, 14.5 at ESPN Bet. Yeah, that's an awesome price. Yeah, that's solid. That's solid.
Exactly. Had to get it.
All right. Yeah, I think those are, I mean, I didn't like this game. I think those are all three good. All right. Next game is Cardinals versus Bills, where I do have plays on this one. Those of you that already watched the YouTube video or are in the Dub Club already know what I'm on. But I'm on, the first play is Dalton Kincaid. I took him 60 plus receiving yards. I got it at plus 130. Nice. Looks like you can actually get a better price at plus 155 at DraftKings. So I got negative CLV there, but I still really like the play. I mean, the Cardinals defense is trash. They were the worst defense last year, according to both DVOA and PFF. They were the worst, or the second worst passing defense, specifically according to DVOA. Heading into the year, they're projected to have the 32nd, which also is another way of saying the worst secondary heading into the year. And Kincaid was good last year. Like, tight ends are always kind of a slow roll. Like, Sam Laporta was the outlier, it was the outlier, not the rule. Like, he was awesome last year. And Kincaid, since 2010, fourth most receiving yards and fourth most targets for a rookie tight end. Like, what Sam Laporta did last year is not common. Generally, it takes time for tight ends to develop. And the Bills receiving unit, there's nobody left. I mean, they have the second most vacated targets from last year. Stephon Diggs had the 6th most targets and 6th most receptions last year. He's gone. Gabe Davis is not like a target hog, but he's gone. And they have a rookie, Keon Coleman, who's apparently been slow to he's been like a slow roll. He has not looked great in camp. They have Curtis Samuel, who's ancient, and they have Khalil Shakir, who's like been a wide receiver 3 his entire career. So I think Josh Allen's going to go to Kincaid a lot. And like 60 yards is nothing crazy. Like I wouldn't hate if you laddered him up to like 80. I don't think that's crazy. Like I just think that he's going to be the top target for Josh Allen. I also in this game have Josh Allen anytime touchdown.
Yeah.
I was able to get it. Looks like, I mean, look at that price on FanDuel. FanDuel, someone's going to get fired for this price. It's plus 100 at FanDuel. It's minus 105 at BetMGM. Fanatics, 160. Bet365, 138. DraftKings, 125. Caesars, minus 167. Just across the board, it's a crazy price. And Josh Allen was a touchdown machine last year. I mean, he had more red zone carries than any running back on the Dolphins, or sorry, on the Bills.
On Bills, yeah.
They don't like to use James Cook in the goal line. Like he only had 5 carries inside the 5-yard line. 40 running backs had more than him. And Josh Allen had, and that was a Bills team that had 35 rush attempts inside the 5, and Cook only had 5 of them. Josh Allen had 14. He scored a touchdown in 14 of 19 games, but to end the year, he did it in, he scored a touchdown. Where is this? I think he did it. Yeah. He scored a touchdown 8 of his last 10 games, or at least 1 touchdown. Only 2 games he did not have one. And then he had 4 games with multiple touchdowns. So he literally doubled. He had 2 touchdowns twice as often, whatever math is struggling to come to my mouth in terms of words. He did in terms of not scoring at all. So I love both those plays. They're both plus money bangers. Yeah, that's where I went with this one. I'm putting it in the sheet now. I put that in Dub Club. I put it in a YouTube video. I'm fully indexed on both these plays, but I love it.
Yeah. And I just want to call out, because the only thing I could think of too, when we're talking about Josh Allen, looking at all these odds is kind of what M Stone just was talking about. He's like, the fact that a QB is negative on a TD line is still ridiculous though. And I agree. Josh Allen is not your typical quarterback, so it's a little bit different here. But I wonder who is hitting minus 138 on Bet365. Like, who's hitting that for a touchdown on a quarterback? Like, I totally agree with that ridiculousness. I love that your play here is it's even money. The man is their goal line back.
Correct.
This is not your normal situation.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, look, you're a dong master. You know how ridiculous it is that there's dongs at like plus 100, plus 120. Like,
yeah,
it's the same concept, right? But it still makes sense for Josh Allen. The one play that I found that I love in this game, absolutely love it. So there's a couple of things. My game theory here is that the Bills go up early. Kyler needs to try to bring them back, and Kyler's pass attempts go through the roof. Kyler's passing yards probably go over. Those are things that I think are probably going to be there for him as this Bills defense regresses this season. But the bet that I love the most is the James Cook over 13.5 rushing attempts. Okay. And the reason for that is the huge disparity that I found between Ken Dorsey play calling for the Bills for the first 10 games of the season and Joe Brady taking over for the last 7 of the regular season and then 2 playoff games, right? And if you look at the differences there between Cook's usage, it's absolutely insane. The overall usage, running versus passing, is insane. So Dorsey is in the first 10 games of the season. James Cook goes over this number in just 4 of those 10 games. The Bills average 25 run plays and 33 pass plays. He averages 12 rushing attempts per game. All right, that's a lot of numbers, but he averages 12 rushing attempts per game. After Brady takes over, everything changes. They now have 37 run plays to 30 pass plays. James Cook goes all the way up to 16.5 rushing attempts per game. And in one of the 2 games that he went under, which he went over in 7 of the 9 games that Brady was the offensive coordinator, in the 2 unders, one was a 13 attempt game just under there by the hook against the Dolphins. And then they played the Chiefs, and that was a throwing game where Josh Allen pretty much tried to do everything as they won that game against the Chefs and Pat Mahomes. So I really love that. I don't think that the books are taking into account the fact that Cook will be used a lot more in a Brady offense that will run a lot more than it'll pass. Plus, it's the first game without Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. So it's not like you just feel as comfortable flinging the thing all over the field to Shakir and to Shakir and to rookies, right? So, yeah.
I like it. And also, I mean, that's, if you really wanted to get bold, you could go up one more and get plus 120. But yeah, the minus 125, solid.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Moving on. Titans, Bears. What'd you have in this one?
Titans Bears, baby. So in this one, I don't actually think I put out a bet in this. Yeah, I was on a couple things and kind of stayed away from them. I just think there's too much unknown. So like I know this is the first time you're trying to let me go first, but unfortunately, like the only thing that I would even really consider in this game was Will Levis over passing yards, and that's really just because Brian Callahan is now the offensive coordinator, and the man does not run the ball. He knows what he's good at, and he knows what he's not good at, and so he just stops running the ball. I remember when he was still coaching in Oakland, Charlie Garner just basically became a wide receiver for this team, like a slot guy, because he just didn't run the ball. His run plays were Rich Gannon to Garner for like 2 yards, right? And that was their run play, similar to sometimes what Andy Reid does. But that's the only thing I was looking at. Still just didn't feel too comfortable with it because I don't even know. Is Nuke playing? Do you know if Hopkins is actually going to be in this one?
I don't. Doesn't he have a torn MCL? Didn't that just come out? Yeah,
that was the thing that kept me away from it. Plus, same concept with Keenan Allen on the other side of the ball. Those two unknowns were kind of big to me.
Fair. I also only gave out a lean in this one, so it's not an official play. I went with Rome Odunze over 3.5 receptions. I am admittedly a sucker for the rookie versus rookie quarterback wide receiver combination. So it keeps going up. That's what makes me nervous. Like it was minus 105. Then it went up to plus 105. Now it's at plus 112 at FanDuel. Granted, that's like an awesome price on FanDuel compared to every other book, minus 120, minus 115, kind of across the board. It's the rookie versus rookie thing. It's also the fact that L'Jarius Sneed is now on the Titans, and he basically, he shut down every receiver, every wide receiver one when he was on the Chiefs last year. Didn't do anything. They had like the best numbers against wide receiver ones. They also let him travel. I don't know if the Titans are going to do that. I also have this weird thing about like players having, like, he's always been good, but it was kind of an outlier year in a contract season and then getting paid. There's plenty of examples of them not necessarily playing as well post-contract. That also makes me nervous. So maybe he won't be as good. But Keenan Allen's been like on and off with an injury. He's got a heel injury. Like he's going to play, but he's questionable.
Right.
And Odunze and Caleb Williams went through like the rookie post-draft process together, like rookie mini camp, all that stuff. So I always feel like they tend to I just love the rookie versus rookie connection. I didn't actually bet it, but that's where I would lean. If I played it, I would only play it for a half unit. I'll definitely play this one a little bit lighter.
I think that's smart. You're reminding me of Tank Dell and CJ Stroud last year. 100%, where you're like, Nico Collins is a better wide receiver when you look at him, but Tank Dell is getting all these deep balls and catches from a guy that he was in sync with since preseason. So yeah, fully understand that thought. Yeah,
for sure. And then also like the best example of this is Andy Dalton, AJ Green, the same draft class. They blew up.
Yeah. And there are some really nasty against the spread numbers for quarterbacks, first overall pick, playing in the first game. This is the first time that a rookie quarterback has been favored in like 10 years or something like that in their first game. So there's just some weirdness here, man. There's some leans that I liked, and I just ended up staying away. I think you're in a similar boat.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Also, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. Any questions you will want us to answer, go ahead and put that in the chat. We'll help you out there. All right. Patriots, Bengals. Another game that's tough to really know what's going on. Did you have anything for this one?
Well, I will say Bengals were my first survivor pick. And then the T. Higgins news. I don't know if Jamar Chase is playing. T. Higgins is doubtful. I didn't change it, but this is my survivor pick because I think this is the biggest disparity, and the spread shows that. I mean, I'm not making that up. The spread is the largest, I believe, of any on the slate right now. I kind of would have leaned Pats plus 8.5 with all this news, but it's down to 7.5, right? I don't think there's any more 8.5s hanging around.
There's an 8 on DraftKings.
Okay, DK has it at 8. I started to really look at it at 8.5, mostly because I'm like, yeah, go ahead and underestimate Jacoby Brissett. Be the person who does that. Like he's easily capable of covering a touchdown with the way that he's going to play slow ass football and really just grind out the possessions. There's not going to be that many to be had. So for the Bengals, the same concept. Like if they're not moving down the field super fast and quickly, then it's quite the same Joe Burrow led offense with that pace that they love to play with. Then like I don't know what to expect from them. So I ended up staying away from this game as well. I did leave it in as my survivor pick. If you wanted to lean, I would consider like a Ramondre Stevenson or potentially Demario Douglas over on receiving, and I would consider an under for the Rook there as well. for Polk. Thank you. I would consider an under for Polk because it's just rookie wide receivers. He was at about 37.5 yards to open. And if it's still around there, I still like the under much more. I don't think he's going to have as much involvement early in the season. But I just don't like this game. It's another one with so many unknowns. I think the Pats will be a bottom 3 team in the league this season. And I do think it's fair if you wanted to put a future on them to have the worst record in the league. But for this week 1 stuff, I'm not quite with it yet.
Yeah, they're the betting favorite right now in terms of odds to have the worst record. I'm actually pretty confident that they cover. I put out a video earlier in the summer about like early week 1 lines I was on. I took the Patriots plus 9.5. I would still take them at plus 8. So I'm gonna put that as my pick for this game.
Okay.
It's like who is Joe Burrow throwing to? Jamar Chase, even if he plays, already said he's going to be limited. T. Higgins is out. You're talking like Jermaine Burton. You're talking like Andre Yoshivas, who that's a cool name, has like looked good in the minimum snaps that he's played, but that guy's not ready to be a number 1 receiver. The Patriots, I think their offense is going to be terrible. Their offensive line is awful, but their defense is going to be solid. Like they hired Gerard Mayo, who is, I think, their defensive coordinator. They have good talent along the defense. Granted, I know they traded Matthew Judon, but still they have like decent talent across the board. Like you said, they're going to play slow. And the Bengals are also notoriously slow starters. Look at what the Bengals have done week 1 the past couple of years. Last year, if you want to, like, sure, Burrow was coming off of a calf injury. They got smoked. They scored 3 points in 2 of their first 4 games, and they started 1-3. The year before that, Burrow threw 5 interceptions. They lost to the Steelers. The following week, they lost to the Cowboys without Dak Prescott. So like they're notoriously slow starters. Maybe that won't be the case this year with Burrow coming off of an injury, but they could still start. Like they could still win this game. I just don't think they're going to cover over a touchdown. So the fact that you can still get the 7.5, 8, I think is solid. So that's where that's where I'll go in this one.
It's a fair play. Yeah, maybe Trent Irwin anytime touchdown too. I think he's now the most. He'll be the most experienced wide receiver for Burrow at this point.
That's crazy.
Right. It's worth consideration. It's like 43 snaps or something with Burrow.
Yeah. So Yoshivas is 275. Irwin is 500. Wow. Yeah, and that's if you can even use Fanatics.
That's a sneaky one. I might put that out here and by the end of the show and let you know if it's like a quarter unit. I might be doing a little bit of look on the side.
Cool. All right. So, but you didn't actually have
I didn't have a bet in that one. No.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Third time's a charm. I know you have a play in Texans Colts. I know you do. So what do you have? What do you have for me here?
You are right. I do, and I'm starting with Joe Mixon, over 14.5 receiving yards. I also like the over 2.5 receptions, but I'd rather just do the yards in this one. I think you're in a good position with Indy they allowed the 5th most receiving yards to running backs last year. I don't think they did much to improve that. The thing they were always good at is pass rushing. They picked their first overall pick with Letutu, or I'm always going to say his name wrong. Sorry.
Leatu
Latu. Yes. Thank you. That's beautiful. With Letutu, who I'm just, who I mean now. He's an incredible pass rusher, as we know, probably the best in the draft. That's what they're already good at. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm still worried about their ability to defend running backs receiving, running backs rushing, etc. That's just obviously things that they haven't been able to do. I do think that they'll be a little bit better at defending the pass, even though their secondary is absolutely putrid, probably bottom 6, 7 in the league. Their pass rush is going to be a top 5 unit in doing so, as they continue to have an incredible adjusted sack rate last year, pressure rate, all that stuff. They were incredible, top 10 in all that stuff, and they're only going to be better this year, in my estimation, especially with DeForest Buckner. Missed a couple games last year. He's back fully healthy, so that's all going to cause Stroud to probably need to get rid of the ball a little bit more quickly. I'm not high on Stephon Diggs, so I don't think he's coming in and taking too many receptions from too many guys, to be honest. And then the other bet that I have in this one is AR-15, Anthony Richardson, anytime touchdown, plus 130. I got that on DraftKings. I forgot to check it before we got on this morning to make sure it was still a nice plus money bet. Is it still around there?
I am on that play as well. Last I checked, it was 120, and right now it's 125. Yeah, okay, so cool. I mean, I'm on that play too. So cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, perfect. So it's Anthony Richardson, and Houston allowed the most touchdowns to quarterbacks. This is the dude that would have led the league in terms of quarterbacks rushing touchdowns if he didn't get hurt. He had more rushing touchdowns than passing when he went out, which is a stat everyone likes to throw around, not even using that against him. I don't know how good how well he's going to be able to lead this team to a victory in this game, to be honest. I would still lean toward Houston, but we talked about this in one of my videos that we did on my channel for future stuff, where I was like, look, I like the Colts to win this at plus 310 with a full unit on that. Just thought that was a worthwhile future. I thought it was much closer between these two teams than they might be giving them credit for. If Anthony Richardson's healthy, he is a absolute problem. He's basically Lamar Jackson and slightly bigger. So I'm perfectly fine with him just falling forward into the end zone. Now, granted, he didn't have Jonathan Taylor, and that would be the only thing that scares me away from it. So it's a half unit play at plus 130 for me, or at this point, plus 125. I'm still good with that number for Richardson to find the end zone with his legs.
Okay, so you did a half unit. I did a full unit on this bad boy. He played in basically 2.5 games last year. He scored 4 touchdowns. Only one game he did not score a touchdown was the game in which he left early with a shoulder injury. I get the Jonathan Taylor thing. It's just he's going to keep it. Like that's just what I don't think necessarily that his mindset's going to be different. Like, oh, I have Jonathan Taylor now. Like these young quarterbacks just want to put the ball in their hands. That's what they trust. That's their like that. That's just kind of what they're ingrained to do. They trust their legs. And in this exact matchup, he only played, I think, less than the first half, and he scored 2 rushing touchdowns. The first 2 drives of the game, he had a rushing touchdown. And also don't forget his head coach, Shane Steichen, coached the Eagles in 21 and 22. Hurts had 10 and 13 rushing touchdowns in those 2 years. He's I think he's a good offensive schemer.
Great.
Excuse me. I think that they're going to use him. So yeah, I love the anytime touchdown. Like if you can get it for plus money, especially I don't know what the hell Caesars is doing. Like minus 125 is just obscene.
They've got to be getting action. Like that's what I was saying.
They're one of the sharper books.
Yeah, they have to be getting action. Otherwise, you cannot just bump that down so far below market value. Like it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, my strongest lean that I haven't played is over 24.5 team total for Houston. I don't believe in the Colts defense quite as much, to be honest with you. I mean, it was bad last year. It's not like I'm saying something crazy. They gave up like 4th most points in the league last year. So it's not like I'm saying something new and profound, but I think it should be harped on a little bit more that like this defense is bad enough that 24.5 points should be doable. Problem would be that the thing that's also kept me away from it, maybe this is silliness and I'm just looking backwards too much. The Texans did that 6 times last year. They scored 25 points 6 times last year.
You would have thought that was more.
On defense was the key. So do you have anything for the total? Because I would lean the over overall, and I might actually like the over better for the game than I do for just the Texans, but I trust that Texans defense way more than the Colts D. That was the thought process there.
Yeah. So a total 48.5 if you want to take it on like Profit X. So it's actually Profit. I would highly recommend. I think it's like one of those sweepstakes books. So it's legal everywhere. They consistently have the best odds. And I don't work for them. It's not me giving a sales pitch. If you're going to get the best price, you check them out. I mean, the Colts played at the fastest pace last year. They had I think to begin the year, they had, I forget the number, but they had the most games go over because at the beginning of the year, the books don't really know what to do. I mean, the Texans were my pick to win the Super Bowl. My only concern is they were significantly better against bad defenses last year. Now, this was also a bad defense last year, so that shouldn't matter. But there's also a year's worth of tape on CJ Stroud, and he was significantly better against zone than against man. So maybe you give defensive coordinators a full offseason to look at that. Maybe they'll play more man against him, and maybe they won't be as good at it.
Yeah.
So even though they're my Super Bowl pick, I do think that like they're not, obviously they're a longer shot for a reason. They're not the Chiefs. There's obviously going to be concerns. But yeah, I mean, I like that. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I would lean towards the over team total and the over in the game. I was just playing devil's advocate.
For sure.
All right. Jaguars, Dolphins. Tyreek Hill is playing in this game. For those of you that saw him get arrested before the game, which is just wild. It's a classic Scotty Scheffler situation.
Total.
So if you're on Tyreek Hill, if you're of the mindset that he's going to go off like Scheffler golfed like a career round after being super slow to load, had a really did really well after getting arrested. I'm trying to get loaded anytime touchdown. It's not pulling up. I didn't have anything on Tyreek Hill. I was too late right before we streamed to really have an official play on it. Here we go. So if you think he's going to blow up, he is. I mean, he's in the minus money to score a touchdown.
Minus 120, right? Yeah.
Minus 115. Yeah, it's the best price. And if you want to go receiving yards, he's going to be like close to 100. I had to get I'm guessing like 97.5. But yeah, anyways, that's not my play. I just wanted to bring that up because I'm sure people are going to ask about it. Yeah, 96.5 for receiving. It's plus 100 to get to 100 receiving yards. Granted, that's not a bad price, like minus 110, minus 118. So anyways, I did have a play in this one. It was not
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. I took Evan Ingram over 5.5 receptions.
Yep.
Or sorry, yeah, 6+. Same thing.
Wow.
So right now, I got it at plus 122. It's still plus 120. Did you know that Evan Ingram had the second most receptions in a single season in NFL history for a tight end?
I did know that only because I love Evan Ingram, because I'm a Giants fan. I wish he's still on the Giants. I've been following him since then, and I drafted him on like 3 fantasy teams. So I am also a huge Evan Ingram fan, and I am on a very similar bet with you there. So I'm
okay. There we go. Yeah. So he had the second most. The leader in that is Zach Ertz in 2018. He had 116. Evan Ingram had 114. So he's like literally 2 behind him.
Yeah.
But also Travis Kelce, Tony Gonzalez, none of these tight ends had more receptions than he did last year. Gates, exactly. None of them did. And if preseason's any indication, he's going to have a huge role in this Jags offense. Like the dress rehearsal, the last preseason game, he had 2 touchdowns in the first half. And they lost Calvin Ridley. They brought in Gabe Davis, who, as we mentioned, it's not a target hawk. He's like a big threat kind of guy who honestly, his presence probably helps Evan Ingram because he's going to take up, they're going to have to respect him over the top. Yeah. Keep him honest. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. at the end of the year is going to be awesome.
Agreed.
I generally, I know I was on Roma Dunze. I generally fade rookie wide receivers in week 1 specifically, because even Justin Jefferson barely played the first 2 games of the year. And he's like the best receiver in the NFL. So, if you want to tell me like in week 8, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a smash, I'll believe you. But to start the year, I'm going to go with Evan Ingram. And also the Dolphins, granted, new defensive coordinator. So who knows what they're going to look like. They don't have Vic Fangio anymore. They're one of the worst defenses at guarding tight ends last year. Their linebackers aren't any good, the Dolphins. So I think they brought in a guy who, like a former first round pick, who's disappointed. I forget his name. Disappointed. So like, I'm not really scared of the matchup at all. They have good safeties, but I don't think the safeties are going to be worried about Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a tight end, or he's a reception machine. So yeah, I went with him over 5.5 receptions. I got it plus 122. I would still take it at plus 120.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I love Evan Ingram. Like, if you were watching Evan Ingram in New York and saying he was the problem, then you're an idiot. I mean, he was never the problem. He wasn't always open, but he eventually started. He was on the Jags, it seemed, last year. I mean, and even when he wasn't, he had a really good catch percentage when he was in tight coverage, right, without much separation at times. So there's a lot to like about him, because you don't have to rely on him playing bad teams. You don't have to rely on him playing teams with weak coverage against tight ends. You can really he's in any starter spot. He's a top 5 tight end in terms of production, and just flew completely under the radar as, a top tier tight end in the league this year for whatever reason. So I'm 100% with you. My bet for this game, my favorite bet for this game anyway, is the Jags plus 3.5. I do not think that there's as big of a disparity between these two teams as you might think. I think first of all, is Jalen Ramsey playing as well? So
he, like, they listed him saying he's going to play, but he might be on a snap count, which I've never heard. I've never heard with a cornerback before. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. How do you put a corner on a snap count?
It doesn't make any sense.
Especially when it's the dude who you need to be guarding the best players on the other team.
And they just made him the top paid cornerback in the NFL. So yeah, it's weird.
So super weird. So don't like that at all if you're Miami. But for Ingram at this point, if you're talking about, the next man up guarding, I guess Kirk at this point, maybe some Brian Thomas, then yeah, you're looking at probably putting linebackers on Evan Ingram. The Dolphins were pretty bad last year against tight ends as well, as we saw. So yeah, there's a lot to like with Ingram, and there's a lot to like with the Jags. I think I'm still not a huge fan of Trevor Lawrence, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was legitimately hurt last year, because that was some nasty stuff from him. That was just like, how do you go from being that good a year before to being that bad just a year later, right? No more Urban Meyer to mess anything up, but that is my favorite play. I think the Dolphins are going to be perennially overrated consistently this season, because everybody loves to watch guys run really fast by other guys, and they have 3 of the fastest players in the NFL, and so that could 4 if you include Mostert,
and 5 if you include the rookie they drafted Washington.
Right,
I think Malik Washington's his name.
Yep, yeah. Malik Washington. So they've got speed at all over the field on offense, and that's fine. But this Jags defense also, I do think will continue to be at least somewhat improved, and they showed that they could hang with teams with lots of weapons last year, a la the Bills and teams like that. So I'm still on them to win this game. I love your Ingram stuff. I stayed away from him this week. I have like 8 props already up, so that was good enough for me. But this was one that I like, and I'm probably going to be putting together a little teaser here using this game as well, because I can get 4 points and put it over 7.5 and feel really, really great about it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I went back and forth on who I thought about the spread on this one. The Jags are just a team I have no idea what to expect. I do know that they had like the most yards lost or point value lost from drops last year. Like I remember they had so many situations where they just couldn't, like him and Ridley, him and Christian Kirk just could not connect for like just in the end zone, stuff like that. So they could be undervalued. Next game, this is like the toilet bowl game of the week, and it's super slow to load. Panthers Saints.
They don't want us to go over it.
Yeah, they're like, this game sucks.
Save yourself.
There we go. So I only had a play that I'm giving out as a lean for a half unit in this one. I didn't actually bet it myself. And if you wanted to tail it, if you liked it, it would only be for a half unit. It's Taysom Hill anytime touchdown plus 210. This coaching staff, there's no other way that they just have a hard on for Taysom Hill. They love Taysom Hill and they hate everybody else. Dennis Allen is a complete a-hole. They took it down on FanDuel. Let me see if it's still, just for whatever reason, it's just not on OddsJam anymore. Let me pull up the odds on FanDuel specifically. But anyways, they just love this guy. Like I don't understand if he has like dirty pictures of them that he's just like is saying he's going to leak if they don't give him whatever. So all right, it's still up on FanDuel. Just so disregard these odds. It's plus 210 still on FanDuel. And yeah, like they hate Kendre Miller. They just hate him.
I know.
Jamal Williams is washed, and Alvin Kamara, who I like, is a receiving scat back at this point in his career. So I think he's going to.
Kendre's out, is he not? Kendre Miller?
Yeah, he's not. No, yeah, they hate him, and he's also not going to play.
Yeah.
So Taysom Hill is plus, like I said, 210 at FanDuel. Don't listen to this; it's plus 210. Like they're just gonna, and also their offensive line stinks. So like they're not going to be able to drop back and pass or really have that much success running.
Agreed.
So yeah, I would go Taysom Hill anytime touchdown.
Agreed.
You were on a mix and play. Carrick Sweeney.
Yeah, I was on the rushing. I saw this too from Carrick Sweeney, and I was going to respond. Actually, I like the idea of this because I do think, I think there's going to be points in this game, right? And they're going to come from both rushing and receiving. For especially for the Texans. For the Colts, I think they're going to be running all day, every day, with Richardson and Taylor back there, but. I stayed away from this. I stayed away from the rushing with Mixon. The thing that I don't know is how they're going to use him in the run game and how they're going to use the run game in general. Last year, we saw them change from Pierce to Singletary. Singletary got a good amount of rushes and attempts, but 15.5 was not a number that he hit that often. So it's just something to consider. But the birthday angle too, by the way, since we had him asked about it, Brandon brought it up that we got the tight end there on the Titans, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know who Josh Weil is. I have to be
Josh Wiley.
Yeah,
I thought he was on. I if someone had asked me Josh Wiley, I would have thought he was a Chiefs tight end. So I also don't know who that is.
That's fine. I know who Chig is, and I love Chig, and I actually like Chig to get 3 receptions in this game as well. If you wanted that one for the Titans, but either way, yeah, that's what I was talking about with that. There, the Mixon bet I can't really get next to. I really wish that was closer to 13.5. I think 15.5 is a really high number, and I just don't. There's too much unknown on the offense at this point with so many new faces and returning guys like Tank Dell for the Texans. So that's a little bit more of a wait and see for me.
Yeah. So basically, Carrick, he's saying that you're an idiot, just so you know. No,
those were his words, Carrick, not mine.
I know Carrick. He's a good friend, so I'm just giving him crap.
Well, let me throw this. Well, yeah, no, Carrick, I am saying you're an idiot then. I'm just kidding. But for this one, I'm going with the Panthers, baby. I sprinkled a quarter unit on the money line. And I like it. Plus 3.5. Dennis Allen sucks. Derek Carr
100%
is good when you give him 20 minutes to throw the ball. And even then, I don't know that he's going to throw it past 5 yards down the field.
Another way to say that is Derek Carr sucks.
I was being nicer about that one. Dennis Allen unequivocally sucks. And Derek Carr depending sucks. On how you feel about him as a person, because I think he's a good dude. So it's tough for me to say he sucks. But man, if you have 10 minutes to throw the ball and you still won't throw it past 5 yards, then you probably don't belong as a starting quarterback in the NFL. So that said, though, Derek Carr is going up against a pass rush that's going to fail to probably reach him very often. And if you give him that amount of time, with the only really awesome thing I like about this Saints team is the O-line is good enough to give him some time, then yeah. Now, who's he going to throw to? Probably Alvin Kamara 9 times, 7 yards down the field. So that's what you got to consider. But as far as the Panthers winning this game and coming back, like, Bryce Young ain't as bad as we all want him to be. My guy, Brad Thomas, Lord BLT on Twitter, always says that he's been saying this since last year, and I fully agree with him. Bryce Young is as bad as the team around him was last year. And no, he's not a quarterback that can overcome that bad of play around him, but he's a quarterback that can be very good in the right system. So I still believe in him enough. Now you've got who do I want to talk about? Hold on one second.
Oh, Deontay
now that
Johnson?
You have coming over for Carolina. Say it again.
Deontay Johnson.
Yes, Deontay Johnson and Canales. I always say
the head coach. The
head coach. I always say Dave Canales, but Canales, right? Like now that he's over here, this is a dude who revitalized Geno Smith in Seattle. He revitalized Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. So now he's coming over here with a very similar situation, a guy that plenty of people want to just write off in Bryce Young because he was in a terrible situation last year where the 97-year-old Adam Thielen was his best playmaker, right, at last year. So, like, now you're coming in with Deontay Johnson back. They did draft the Rook as well in the first round. So, like, there's some similarities there. I think he's going to be a little bit better. The defense is putrid. Don't get me wrong. But this Saints team did not get better in pretty much any way. I still think you're going to see the same boneheaded coaching moves. So, yeah, I'm on that. I actually think Derek Carr is a better over than an under. But I will say the only bet I would consider as a prop would be Olave over 23.5 longest reception. And that's predicated on, and the reason I didn't hit it is because it could be Raheed Shaheed that just comes out of nowhere and is the one that's getting 30-yard, attempts and targets rather than Olave, who they did not target far enough down the field last year because, once again, Derek Carr is a softie, but mentally. But like, it's going to be one of those two dudes that's going to go over on their longest reception because Derek Carr is going to have time to drink some coffee, read the paper, and then get rid of the ball in that pocket back there versus that awful Panthers pass rush. So I do think that there's going to be some long receptions down the field for the Saints.
So could I interest you in the longest pass for Carr as opposed to longest completion?
That's might make sense. What's that at? Yeah, that might make sense.
I mean, 35.5 is long.
That's long.
That's like 13 yards longer. Yeah. All right. Maybe not. Maybe
not that one. If that was closer to 25.5, maybe, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. I love your angle on the Panthers. One thing I love to do every year is take a team that I hate with a burning passion and take their win total under, not because I necessarily actually think it's going to go under, but because I just want to root against them. Both of those apply to the Saints. I hate them. I hate their head coach. Derek Carr overthrows Chris Olave and then yells at him. Like, I'm sure there's something else going on. It's just a horrible look when you just sky the ball out of bounds and you yell at your receiver.
Not good.
He sucks. Their offensive line is literally the worst in the NFL, according to PFF. They lost their best tackle already for the year, Ryan Ramczyk. They're going to be trash.
Yeah.
I also like the angle. You kind of hinted at it with Kamara. The receptions, I pulled it up and I didn't actually bet it. I still might. I've been waffling over it. Of course, this thing won't freaking load. But he's just going to get, like, if your point about the lack of pass rush for the Panthers makes it so maybe he won't have to dump it down to Kamara 100 times. So maybe Kamara's like a week 2 play when they play a better defense. But that's one thing I did want to shout out.
Yeah, right. I think I don't even know if it matters how good or bad the defense is. I think Derek Carr is just a huge sissy and is going to probably just keep finding Kamara consistently. So yeah, I still think it's a good look.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. So next up, Vikings Giants, another toilet bowl of a game, even though it's your team. No offense.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have in this one?
Well, I got the Vikings. I don't think there's any surprise there. So I took him with the -1.5. I don't care if Sam Darnold sees ghosts at life once again. Like, don't think it's going to matter. I think he could see all the ghosts he wants. Just give it to Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison. You'll be fine. Once you get past Kayvon Thibodeau, now you got Brian Burns, obviously. You're fine. Once you get past that defensive line, you're going to run for days. So don't worry about it. So just get the ball over the defensive line. You'll be all right, Sam, which you're going to now have to do it for the whole year, by the way, which is a big blow, obviously, with the Rook going down for the year for the Vikes. That does suck because that would have been a lot of fun with, and then I would have really loved to watch JJ and Addison a lot more. But that's my favorite play from this one. I do like some Devin Singletary stuff because he's the only player on the Giants that a lot of people are going to have ever freaking heard of that's playing in a skill position for them. But I'm staying away from all things Giants. I think Daniel Jones is absolutely terrible. And
He's
that,
trash.
yeah, I think any of the rushing that he did was because everyone was like, well, we've got 9 in the box and we're all staring at Saquon, and we ain't going to be doing that with Devin Singletary. So, yeah, I'm not scared of Wan'Dale Robinson or the like. If you're playing against the Giants this year, they're going to be a heavy fade for me consistently, and a team that I go against in my survivor pool as much as possible.
Yeah, that Saquon guy. He seems pretty good. How do you do in his first game in a different uniform?
People were projecting that he wasn't going to be good because he hadn't been that good since his rookie season when he had 2,000 all-purpose yards, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah.
So, all right. This is another one that I think I'm going to end up playing, but I have not yet. It's Neighbors 6+ receptions. I agree with 100% of what you said about the Giants offense. I think they're going to be terrible. I also think that they're going to pepper Malik Neighbors with targets. I think they're going to be terrible targets. I think it's going to be like what we saw with Zay Flowers on Thursday night, where it's like screen. It's like 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. He's not like what I love to do negative correlation SGPs. Take his over receptions under yards, because I honestly think you're going to get a good price on that, and I think that's going to happen. Now the concern is, I think Neighbors is awesome. I think I think he's just as good as Malik or Marvin Harrison.
Marvin, yeah, I agree.
So he could take one of those to the house, which is why I'm not actually going to do that negative correlation SGP. But like I said, I just think they're going to give this dude a ton of targets. Like there is not a single thing exciting about the Giants offense outside of him. And they know that, and they look terrible. They look like they're run by the Three Stooges in the offseason with that whole Hard Knock stuff and everything, how that went down. It's just a terrible look. So I think they're going to give this guy a ton of targets and 6+ receptions. I think he's going to get there. Again, I haven't bet it. I might bet it. We'll see. So I'm leaving that as a lean.
Not much in the way of player props in that one, to be honest. And we got to see what JJ is going to do.
It's just a gross game.
Yeah.
All right. I do have a play in this one. So I took the Raiders +3. I wish it was 3.5. I would love to get that field goal because this seems like a game that's going to end up like 14-17.
Mm-hmm.
My take on the Raiders is that they're probably only going to win like 3 or 4 games, but I think every game is going to be close. Like they're going to be the Dan Campbell Lions before they got good, where you're going to play hard. Like, the testosterone coming out of Antonio. What's his last name? I'm just totally Pierce. Antonio Pierce.
Yeah. My guy, come on. We took us to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Linebacker.
That's right.
I think their defense was awesome last year. And one stat that I love to look at that I stole from an Eagles podcast that I listened to is teams that were top 10 in defensive DVOA, but bottom 10 in turnovers. And you can kind of see that defense was already good last year and did not get a lot of turnovers. That was this Raiders defense. So I think their defense is going to be good. I think the Chargers, they're going to play like a ground and pound with no running backs. They don't have any receivers. Their offensive line, they finally maybe fixed it with the guy they drafted, Joe Alt. He's probably going to be a stud, but it's a totally different Chargers team. Like they're going to want to slow down the clock. So I just think this game is close. I would still take the +3 for a unit. I would love it at 3.5. So maybe this is like a tease type of situation, but I do think that the Raiders are going to be able to keep this close. And even if it ends up being 3 and you push it, that's not the worst thing in the world. So I am on the Raiders +3.
I like that. And I'm probably going to, so I like that. And in part, I like it because it correlates with my preferred bet, which is the under 40 in this one. And I think, obviously taking a dog in that situation is a little bit better. Talking about a team I think is going to be running a ton still in the Chargers. I think Gus Edwards might actually be a good look. If you don't mind, when you get a sec, can you check out his carries? Because if he's at like 14.5 carries, I think that's a really good look for Gus Edwards. With a Jim Harbaugh team where, look, Jim Harbaugh, and I've been following him since Stanford, but mostly since the 49ers, because I was actually covering that team the last year before he left, which was sad because that was their worst year. It's the same thing with him. And in the first season, it was even more sort of prominent, which is that he is going to spread the ball out amongst his receivers. His running back is going to ride into the ground, which is how Frank Gore had that revitalized season in SF. Well, now you've got Gus Edwards, never was Frank Gore, never will be, but is a very good runner, by the way. Has always been an underrated runner as a running back. He doesn't do other things very well, so you don't want him as your complete back all the time. But I think he's going to get a lot of touches. That's going to lead to a slower pace. Gardner Minshew plays at a slow pace and goes under very consistently as well. Love having Gardner in Vegas. At least we I got to put $1 in the jar every time I say it. And I've been saying the R word instead of commander sometimes, so I still got to watch out for that one.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's tough, but that's a definite $5 fine right there. Either way, I think having Gardner out there is makes this offense a little bit more predictable. I I'm scared of the 3. I agree that 3.5 would be good. I could see this thing around 17-13. So I'm really leaning a lot more towards the under here. Haven't bet that yet, but that would be my favorite play from this game. And then the Gus Edwards rushing attempts. Where's that at? Is that at 11?
So it's 11.5 at +108 at FanDuel.
Oh, what are they doing to me?
I think that the concern is they're going to split the carries between Edwards, Dobbins, and I think I said the rookie probably not. So maybe just these two.
I guess Dobbins would be in there as
his at 9.5.
Yeah. Okay. So if they're predicting that he's going to basically split carries with Edwards, it makes more sense. But the thing is, when Edwards out there, he's going to be the guy running. I knew that was going to be tricky at that point then, but I didn't even look at Edwards' rushing attempts. But the more I look at why I like the under, the more it is Edwards being a huge part of the offense. So
yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense for sure.
That might be worth a little like half a unit, but I'll get back to me on that one.
Yeah, sure. All right, moving on. Broncos, Seahawks. Yeah, I agree with that. I do have a play in this one. The odds might have gotten nuked. They keep switching. Like at some point they're nuked and then they're unnuked and then they get nuked again.
Yeah.
So I took Ken Bowen Walker anytime touchdown -105. So right now it's at -105. I got it at +100. I probably would still take it at -105. I don't love it there. He's someone that I'm super high on. Like, I think he's going to be awesome this year. I think that I'm really curious to see what the Seahawks offense is going to look like with Ryan Grubb from Washington. I think they're going to be really good. I'm worried about their offensive line, which we all thought was going to be terrible in 22. They were not terrible because they had 2 rookie tackles that were awesome. Those rookie tackles were either injured or struggled last year, and their interior was terrible. They have a completely new interior. So I have no idea what their offensive line is going to look like, but I think Ken Walker is going to be awesome. I also don't like this Broncos rushing defense at all. Even if you take out the 70-point game the Dolphins hung on them in week 3, you look at their rushing defense from week 4 on, completely ignoring that game that did in fact happen and would help my point, but I don't want people to think that that's like skewing the numbers. 5th worst rushing defense and allowed the most rushing yards per attempt from week 4 on. So the rushing defense did not get any better as the season went on. They didn't give up a ton of rushing touchdowns, but I think that was more happenstance than anything. Like, they were terrible. They're a bad rushing defense. Sometimes there's just kind of some wonky stats. And Walker, like, even in a kind of a lost year for him, still scored in 7 of 15 games. He had 9 total touchdowns. I think they're going to lean on him a ton. I think that Charbonnet, I think he's not good. So I think it's going to be Kenneth Walker's show. Again, I would love it at +100, but -105 isn't terrible. So I'll still put that out there.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, yeah, no qualms with any of that. I would say, so you're taking the ATTD, right? You're taking the touchdown for Kenny Skywalker.
Yeah.
Can I call him Kenny Skywalker? Is anybody going with that yet?
I have not heard that. I might steal that from you.
All right. Yeah. No, I want to make that official thing. And I know
that's
you're
awesome.
A nerd. Yeah. You're a huge dork. So
I can't believe I have not. Yeah. That's
what I'm saying.
Skywalker. That's amazing. That's
awesome.
What
I'm saying. You're Jedi Moda. You have to have thought of that already. But no, that's 100% up for grabs if you want to use it. I actually stole it from my buddy Nate, so I can't even take full credit for it.
Nasty Nate.
Nasty Nate. Nasty Nate. Ken Skywalker's dirty, underrated. I mean, he looks like Tarzan. He plays a lot closer to Tarzan than he does Jane. I'll say that. So, like, it's a dude that you want to back. I like the anytime touchdown. I'm with you on that one. I haven't given that one out yet, although I've been looking at it. Love Javonte Williams. I think this is a bigger year for him than people are going to give him credit for. I'm going with him over 51.5 rushing yards in this one. And this is, Seattle's defense this weakest against the run. They were like basically the 3rd worst run defense they were the 3rd worst run defense in the league last year as far as giving up yardage. And that's going to be something that I continue to rely on. I think coming into this season, they're also projected. Pro Football Focus had them as like the 31st ranked run.
That's bad.
In the league. That's very bad.
That's very bad.
Rush D DVOA was not a good number for them last year. So I'm going to continue to bank on that. I think Javonte Williams is good for about 15 to 16 carries. There's no splitting with McLaughlin or anybody this year. And like that was basically put to bed about a month ago when they said Javonte Williams is our guy. He's going to be our workhorse. And now that he's, I love the 1 year removed from an ACL injury, right? Having one season where it was like he was probably a little bit slow last year compared to what he's capable of. Now he's coming back with like even stronger at this point. So I'm good with Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I like that. He's on my fantasy team. I like that. I think that, like you always see that. Like not everybody's Adrian Peterson and shreds their knee and then almost breaks the rushing the next year. Like some people take some time. So I think yeah, normal humans. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I also, this is not my play, so I can't take credit for it, but I absolutely love the angle. So I do want to give it out if anybody missed it. It's from Slop. Greg Dulcich, 25 plus receiving yards, plus 148 at FanDuel. Yeah. It's a rookie quarterback who, with no receivers, who loves to throw the ball short. That just screams tight end. And Dulcich has like had a weird career where he just is never on the field, but when he's on the field, he gets used a ton. The tight ends have like historically been good under Sean Payton. It's just like he hasn't had a good one since Jimmy Graham. So it's like, is it a chicken or egg thing? Or are they good because it's Jimmy Graham, or did he make Jimmy Graham good? The world will never know. But I do think that's a solid play at 25 plus. He took it at 25. He also laddered it up to 39.5 at 40 plus. I myself, if you want to tail what I did, I took it at a half unit at 25 plus and left it there. Again, I can't take credit for that because Slot put me on it, but I did bet it myself and I do really like it.
Yeah.
So I did want to give that out.
I think that's a good play. I might even tell that myself. I've seen some people that are on Dortch for sure. So
the Dortch, I like that one too.
Yeah.
All right. We got 3 more games to go. We're hitting up on an hour here, but we're
good game.
This is a good one. Cowboys Browns. Give me Cowboys money line. Give me the under.
Really?
That's where I'm leaning in this one. It's a full fade of Deshaun Watson, who has not been good since 2020. He will never be good. His shoulder is paper mache at this point. Like he ended last year with the shoulder injury. It'd been sore all training camp. Like now we're just supposed to magically believe that like 10 months after he's healthy now. I'm not buying it. While we were recording, the Cowboys paid Dak. I don't know if that's good or bad for this bet.
What?
Yeah, it happened. I was texting me. I was checking my messages. They paid Dak.
Oh, wow.
Right before this game. So I like the Cowboys to win straight up. I also like this game to go under because, and if you're asking me to rank them, definitely the under is the play I like better because the Cowboys offense was like night and day. They're kind of like the Texans. They had 10 games where they scored 30 plus points. They had 5 games where they scored 40 plus. But when they played good defenses, which did not happen often, they only scored 10 points against the 49ers when they got shellacked. They only scored 10 points against the Bills, whose defense was really not that good last year. And they had less than 200 total yards. It was like a total joke, their defense last year. Their offense against good defenses. So under 42.5, you also are getting it at a key number at both Fanatics and Profit. I would put that for a full unit. And then I like the Cowboys too. Yeah. If you tail both, I would just put a half unit on the Cowboys. But yeah, I like them to win straight up. And I like I said, I like the spread or the total. Sorry, I see the comment. I will expand that. That's a good call. Whoops.
What's that? Oh, I missed it.
It's just about the spreadsheet itself. Just expand.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's good. I want to take a look at that too. Same place. Nothing different here. I think this game is like
no notes.
No, nothing. Well, I could add if I want to, but
no, I'm joking. Go.
I know, but no notes would be the easiest way to say yes to everything you just said. I got nothing to add. Everything's in place for the Cowboys. I still think that they're better than your Eagles. We'll see how that goes. That's the NFC East is a crapshoot between those two teams pretty much at this point. So like whatever. But I still like the boys a lot. I know the Browns D is going to still come to play. I know it's going to be a top 5 unit in the league this year, like it was last year. I just think the Cowboys are a much better team overall. I think with Dak and CD just comfortably in there at this point. I don't know how you're going to stop that combo. Like it was shown last year. So I think Jake Ferguson is also in line for
Fergie Ferg.
I think Ferg as an anytime touchdown is going to be something I keep going back to, but I need the number where I want it. And if it's like, plus 200, okay.
240.
That, plus 2. As long as above plus 200, I'm still good with Jake with Big Ferg. Pretty much like every game at this point, we know what Dak likes to do once he gets inside of 20 yards, and that's fine. Giant, awesome tight ends like Jake Ferguson was last year, and Dalton Schultz was the year before. So I'm going to keep going back to the tight end ATTD, but more importantly, I love the under and I love the boys to win this one.
Okay, cool. So is that Fergie ATTD just a lean, or are you actually on that?
Give me that for a quarter unit since it's plus 240. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in the Discord because I was looking at it so closely. I got to do it. Yeah.
All right, I'm with it. So it's 240 FanDuel. Yeah, that's a good price.
I think you're gonna see a lot more safety coverage on Brandon Cooks and CD, to be honest. So.
And yeah, I mean he was awesome last year. People forget. I hate when actually people say people forget, but people actually do.
I know, people really do. And it's because he had like 7 games in a row at the beginning with a TD. He still wasn't even on fantasy teams at that point. And then by the end of the season, it was like a little bit of a slowdown, but still really good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Commanders, Buccaneers. I have a play that I didn't bet. If I bet it, it'd be worth a half unit as a dart throw. Give me Zach Ertz 4+ receptions. This is in the same category as Taysom Hill, whereas find you somebody that Cliff Kingsbury loves as much as Zach Ertz. Find you somebody that loves you as much as that.
Yeah.
This dude, Zach Ertz, who I love. I mean, come on, Eagles jersey. He got me a ring. Yeah. I have nothing bad to say about Zach Ertz. What I have to say bad about is Cliff Kingsbury, who loves Zach Ertz, loves him so much that he literally kept Trey McBride off the field for Zach Ertz. And Trey McBride is a freaking stud.
He is.
Last year, which I get, Kingsbury was not coaching the Cardinals last year, but last year Ertz had 6 and 7 receptions in the first 2 weeks of the year. It should never happen for Zach Ertz, coming off of two torn ligaments in his knee. Mm-hmm. And then the year before he had gotten hurt, but with Cliff, so he missed it in week 1. Then he had 5 straight games with 6+ receptions, and we're only asking him to get 4. I get it, new team, new situation, post knee injury, 2 years, whatever. In 2022, his last year with Cliff, he had 4+ receptions in 7 of 9 games. Cliff loves this guy. They drafted a rookie tight end who they're going to slow play, Ben Sennett, the senator. And all talks out of Commanders camp is that they're going to play a similar style offense that they did to Kyler, which is a fast pace, but is not a lot of deep shots. So it's like, and they have a terrible offensive line. And the Bucs, like, who knows what their pass rush defense is going to be like. But if they're playing the slow game, it's going to be a lot of dump offs, a lot of stupid passes to Zach Ertz. This is a great correlation over reception, under yards type of play. Mm-hmm. Because like last year he had 6 receptions for 21 yards in week 1. So yeah, it's a random deep cut, but I think that like he's going to hit this in the first half. And it's going to be the stupidest thing we'll ever watch.
That could absolutely happen. You've definitely got a much better pulse on Ertz than I do, because like every time I think he's like gone and dead from the league, then all of a sudden he has like an 8 reception game last year. That was just so surprising to me from everywhere. So I don't have much on that. I do think the Bucs are a legitimate team once again, to be honest, and much more so than I do for the Commanders at this point. I'd be interested. I was looking at this earlier. I would mostly be interested in potential rushing yards for the Rook, for not for Drake May.
For Jane Daniels?
Yeah, for Jane Daniels, who is the same as JJ McCarthy, same as anyway. Yeah, so for Daniels, like, was he was at 21.5? Did it go? Oh, it went up to, or 31.5. It went up to 39.5. It was at 31.5. It
was at 31.
It was at 31.5 like two days ago. I've just been sitting it with it in my notes and not going back to it. But like, talk about like first game against a defense that should be able to at least like keep you very contained and keep things like that are 8 to 12 yards, let's say, down the field, like with a very good linebacking coverage unit, especially safeties coming down, really good edge corners. Like I like this Bucs defense. It definitely showed its strength last year. And I would guess that like if I'm a rookie quarterback who has the ability to run, that I would want to do that once I see things, and I might be a little bit froggy, right, and ready to get out of the pocket pretty quick. So, but 31.5 was so much more appetizing than 39.5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That I don't know if I can get to it now. So I was ready to make a spur of the moment call on it if it was like below 34.5 or so. Now I'm kind of out on it, but that's what I'd be looking, maybe even like attempts if it's like at around like, 6.5, 7.5. I still think he's going to get out of the pocket and run a good amount. So
that's like a 20% difference in his yards from 31.5 to 38.5. That's crazy.
I don't know who started hitting it. I think there were some people hitting like 40 plus rushing yards for like, if it was like plus 250, stuff like that. So that would be my guess there. But yeah, 31.5 is, maybe it was 3 days. I've had it in my notes for like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. So. Some capper probably hit it who has like 200K followers, and it just got nuked.
Yeah, I'll just hit it for $5.
Yeah. So, all right. If you are on the attempts at 7.5.
Yeah. Okay. 6.5 was so much better when I said it in my head too. It was probably closer to that as well. And now we're at 7.5. I would look at it for a half a unit, but that's my strongest lean in this one. And then where are we at with the spread of that game? I saw it a little while ago.
4 or 3.5?
4. Yeah, I saw 4, and now we do have 3.5 in there. Man, at home against this Commander squad, I think you're probably still good with the minus 3.5. So I might be adding that to a tease as well to just get that to basically a pick 'em, as I probably put like 3 or 4 together here.
Sure. I would be more apt to take the Commanders.
Really?
I kind of feel like the Bucs are going to be a team that struggle this year, like no Canales, as you love to say. And Baker like has had 2 good years in his career. One of them was under him, so I would be looking to fade the Buccaneers. But I didn't bet it, to be clear. If I had to get one,
yeah, no, that's fair. And I'm not strong. I'm not feeling strong enough for it either.
Appreciate President Jesse Cat for everybody hit the like button if you're not watching it on a TV. All right, last game, Sunday Night Football. This game's going to be awesome. We have a rematch of the wild card round between these two teams, which was awesome. We have Matthew Stafford once again returning to Detroit, which is going to be awesome.
Awesome.
Where are you at in this one, if I could ever get it to load?
Man, I like a lot in this game, to be honest. So, I mean, the bet that I had, let me make sure I get it right. I did have, oh, now everything's freezing for me too.
Of course. Well, I can go if you need. Yeah. So okay. I have one official bet in this game. Actually, two. Actually, I took the Rams. Wow, it's up to 5 now. Wow, I got a horrible price on that. Maybe I'll sit that out just because I hate betting against line movement.
Yeah.
Especially on a spread like that. On player props, I'm okay with it. Spreads, anyways. I had Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown. I got him at plus 150. Right now, he's best offered at plus 140. I would still hit that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the sheet at the best offered price as of right now. Not what I got it at, even though I did get it at a better number. So this is a little bit like, I do admit to my core, I am a contrarian, and I feel like everybody's going to want to be on Puka. I haven't actually seen it. This is just my guess.
Yeah.
That everybody's going to want to be on Nakua because he went bananas against them in the playoffs last year. 9 receptions, 181 yards, 1 touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions for 27 yards, 0 touchdowns. Like 5 players had more yards than Cooper Kupp did in that playoff game. But just a lost year for Cooper Kupp. Started the year with a hamstring injury, just kind of a lost year. Cooper Kupp played 12 games to Puka Nakua's 17. Cooper Kupp still led the Rams in red zone targets. In 12 games, he had 21 red zone targets. Puka Nakua in 17 games had 15 red zone targets. I, for the life of me, tried to find this next stat. Fantasy Football Podcast, listen to the Fantasy Footballers, had Cooper Kupp as like one of the top first read target getters, meaning when he is the read, they throw to him. And he was like among the leaders in that category, meaning they still schemed up stuff to Cooper Kupp more than they did to Puka Nakua, if that makes sense. That was true in the red zone, which is the money down.
Yeah. And
just because he didn't score in this game last year, just because he had a down year in general, like Puka Nakua is in the same situation that Cooper Kupp was in last year, meaning that Puka Nakua missed this whole training camp. Like he had a knee cyst. That's a very funny comment. I mean, you just gave Josh a heart attack over here.
All the sickness of the last 3 days just came back up because of the Bill Cosby joke.
Have you watched the show The Boys?
Yes.
This reminds me of that scene where Soldier Boy comes back and he's like, what about that guy, Bill Cosby? Bill Cosby, man, he can make some strong drinks. Oh man! 1 hour into the show, it's not our fault if it gets off the rails a little bit.
Oh no! Oh, this is Jeff. What do you mean? This is Jeff Stenberg's fault. It's not our fault.
Yeah, that's true. And hey, I haven't mentioned dong once this show. That should.
No, you did at the beginning. I said you're right. I said dong twice, but
I think I did say the dong report. But anyways, I'm officially on Cooper Kupp. I am sitting out the spread. I got it at 4.5. I guess no. I'm sorry. I thought I had it at 3.5. I actually got it at 4.5. So this actually isn't terrible line movement. I'd still honestly I don't know, teams like the Lions who had a magical year, who should have made it to the Super Bowl but didn't. I always feel like those teams struggle out of the gate the following year. Same thing with the Eagles last year. I mean, I know they started 10-1, but they were not a 10-1 team last year. The thing that, if you want to go against what I just said, is that the Lions kept both their coordinators, which is like a huge deal. I'm a big believer in keeping that coaching staff the same. So I'm going to hold off on making this an official play for now. If I change my mind, I'll let everybody know, but I'm just going to ride with the Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown. So anyways, what do you got?
Well, I'm in a similar boat. First of all, I drafted Cooper Kupp in 2 different leagues. I completely agree that it's silly to just be like, well, Puka Nakua, wide receiver 1 now. Let's calm down here. Cooper Kupp is one of the best route runners in the league. That's what makes him more unstoppable in the red zone than Mr. Cosby. But the guy that I've been looking at, and I want to give Prop Holiday some credit for this too. Really good follow once again on Twitter. Has his own Discord, Bobby. We all kind of knew that it was going to take some time for Higbee to come back at tight end, which meant Kobe Parkinson, who at one point in time was supposed to be a pretty good tight end in the league, Kobe Parkinson, until he just kind of became a journeyman. But I would still say that the plus 335 number for an anytime touchdown for him at tight end is great. Anytime I can get a starting tight end with a quarterback who's willing to throw to his tight end down the seam all of the time, which we know Stafford is always willing to throw down the seam, but he's willing to throw anywhere. That's the beautiful thing about Stafford. Yeah, but with that in mind, like I think plus 335 is worth a quarter unit.
360 now.
Beautiful. Is it a book that I had? Oh, it's FanDuel. Yeah. Okay, great. That's the one that everybody has. So I'm putting a quarter unit on that. I think over 24.5 receiving yards is a little bit scarier. I would have liked to take that. I still haven't, to be honest with you, but it's not a bad bet. I just prefer to just assume that he's going to get in the end zone rather than have to worry about, how many yards he's going to get. But Higbee ran a plenty. His ADOT was very good by the end of the season. And if you just transfer that over to the now starting tight end for Parkinson, it's not apples to apples because it's not the same player. But that's where they want to run guys down the seam. Obviously, Zach Robinson's not there to offensive coordinate that team anymore. So I'm still a little bit worried about that. But as far as just a plus 360 for a guy who's in a touchdown catching position based on his size, down in the red zone, then I would say that you're looking at a pretty good number there.
Yeah, that's a good play. I have a vendetta against Colby Parkinson because I love Davis Allen. And I thought they should have just handed the keys to Davis Allen when Tyler Higbee got hurt. Right. And they signed this like Jamoke Colby Parkinson, who's never done anything in his career. And he's going to get all the work, where I think Davis Allen is really good. So I'm not like, if I try to bet him, the sportsbooks reject it because they'd call me a fraud. So I'm not allowed to bet it.
Stupid.
All right. Well, yeah, that's everything. So we got, let's see, how many units risked total? Granted, although I need to, my math this year is wrong. Oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Yeah, I mixed that up. Sorry.
Where can people see the spreadsheet, by the way? Just, you mean on the link?
Yeah. So I put it in the, I messed up.
I got you. Yeah, it's right here.
I need to correct something. Yeah, there we go. All right. We have 21 units risked, which is a lot. But between two people in a lot of plays, obviously, like we're not going to go over 21. Basically, right. It's not going to be like you're betting 21 dongs. Right. I'll post a link again in the chat. It was the first comment. I'll post it again. This is everything that we like for today. I'm going to keep track of it. As you can see, so far so good. Granted, it's only been 2 days, and a lot of that was Slop, who put 1 unit on a plus 596 same game parlay that cashed on Thursday night. So that's going to help your numbers a lot.
Beautiful.
I went 3-0 on Thursday. I went 1-3 on Friday, which is just how sports betting goes. Normally, I like to have some degeneracy at the very end and parlay all of our favorite picks together, but we're already at an hour and 11 minutes. And week one, it's not our fault. And we got excited. Generally, these should be around an hour. If not, a couple 10 minutes didn't kill anybody. But anyways, that's everything for today. Josh, appreciate you joining me. If anybody here doesn't follow Josh on whatever social media you want to plug, do your plugs now.
For sure. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing plenty of football too, but still riding with the W on the YouTube channel. Land Your Bets is everything. So if you search Land Your Bets on Twitter, on YouTube, IG, TikTok, all that stuff, that's where we're putting out plays. So man, looking forward to being on here every Sunday for sure. I might have to miss like 1 or 2 that I have things for. But other than that, I'm here to ride all season for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm going to miss a couple. I'm getting married in October. I have a wedding. I have a wedding the week after, a different, not my own. I'm not getting married in 2 weekends in a row. I have a different wedding the week after. And then we were talking offline. I have another wedding in California in November. So I'll probably miss at least 3 Sundays this year. If not, life happens. No big deal. Anyways, not a problem. Sure. Most Sundays you can catch us at 11 a.m. on this YouTube channel at this. Everybody go follow Josh. He's awesome basketball breakdowns on YouTube. I watch those and I learn a lot. So and we've done live streams, NBA stuff. I'm sure we'll do it again.
We're doing plenty more.
Starts. Oh yeah. So anyways, appreciate everybody for joining. Josh, appreciate you for joining me as well. And everybody let's have a good Sunday.
Let's get it.